Welcome to EnigmaCast, nerds, and look who I found over here. Sasquatch Steve, the one-eyed wonder,
That's right.
fresh out of New Jersey. We haven't had a chance to hook up in a while, so I moved heaven and earth, canceled all my plans on Fridays because, unlike this nerds, I actually got a life out here. But I canceled my plans on Fridays, y'all. Bring in my boy, and we're going to talk about a thing. Before we get into that, Steve, introduce yourself, homie, for those who are just finding us.
Yes, my name is Sasquatch Steve Taylor, little cryptid boy out of northern New Jersey here, and just here for some fun.
He's about them streets up there in the mean streets in New Jersey. He looks out his window at the dirtiest river on the planet. What's it called, Steve, that dirty river?
Which one, the Hudson?
The Hudson River.
Oh, yeah.
Hudson River. So anyways, nerds, welcome. Thank you. We missed you. Everybody give Steve a nice golf clap through the screen there. And as we get into tonight's topic, everybody, I'm going to make a confession. Tonight, we're going to be talking about something that has been sent to me more than any other request that we have ever gotten to talk about on this show via DMs on Instagram, emails via the YouTube channel, and messages on TikTok. And this is my least favorite cryptid, and it is the most requested cryptid that we've ever been asked to go into. And the channel's been over a year and some change now. And recently I just like, you know what, let's just get this out of the way. We're going to go, you know how the format we do. So Steve, tonight they want us to break down the Chupacabra.
The Chupacabra. Now, let me just ask you real quick. Is it your least favorite because you're scared, Joe? Is that what it is?
Actually, you know what, man? It's my least. So it's my least favorite cryptid. And you know what? You guys have been on this channel for a while. You've seen my content for a while. You know I've only got one speed. I only talk one way. Because this is the dumbest cryptid I've ever heard on my planet. This is the dumbest cryptid I've ever researched and went into. It is the one that I am the least interested in and looking at. However, I learned some things about this. I learned some things about the Chupacabra tonight that we're going to go into as we'll dig into it. So, Steve, that is the reason. If we were walking in the woods, we've covered a lot of cryptids on this channel, Steve. Agree?
Yes, sir.
And we've done some serious deep dives. We know we and not just in local cryptid lores. We've gone global on this. We've talked about as far as Oklahoma, California, west coast of Canada, Nantucket, where you spent your summers. And we've talked about pugwudgies and dogmen, and we did all kinds of the wampus cats, Bigfoots, cannibalistic Bigfoots.
Yep.
Matter of fact, this is probably the first show we're going to do, Steve, where no people were actually murdered, like in the show. So
yeah, and you've had me on some pretty gnarly ones the past few episodes.
I know, right? And I thought to myself,
terrifying, like, people getting murdered. Like
I thought to myself too, man. Am I subconsciously doing that? Like, am I bringing Steve on for like the most horrible ones? So yeah, man. So tonight. Full disclosure, Enigmites, if I'm walking through the Appalachian mountain range and a pugwudgie sticks his head around a corner, I might back up a few steps, right? I'm not going to mess with it, right? Same thing with a dog man. I see some glowing eyes or a Bigfoot. If a Chupacabra bumped out of a bush, I'm going to show you how far I could punt it. I might catch one and take it home. That's what I think about. That's what I think about the El Chupacabras, right? I'm tuning them up, man.
Oh, man.
It is, man. A Chupacabra weighs about 10 more pounds than a Chihuahua, right? And I will tune a Chihuahua up, man. I would probably claim one. That's the level of respect I have towards these things in the beginning, but we'll get into it. So, Steve, are you ready?
All right. Yes, sir.
Are you ready to bring our own unique style of, what's the word I'm looking for here, Steve-O? Our own unique style of research, debunking,
presentation, and all this kind of stuff. Oh,
yeah. We'll get into it. So here we go.
Our own flair. Oh, yeah.
So if you guys have never been here before, we'll tell you the format that I only do this when Steve's on here, right? When Jay's on here, I yell at him for 45 minutes and then we leave. But with Steve, I throw him a topic. He cancels 2 or 3 times because he's out chasing the ladies. And then he goes and does his research. I go and do my research. We compare notes. And at the end of the episode, we will tell you whether or not how far we're into this cryptid or not into this cryptid. So, Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, doing my research, Enigmites, I came across several Chupacabra incidents, right? So when something like this happens, I go back to the earliest one that I can find, right? And that happens to be August of 1995 in Puerto Rico. That was the earliest one that I could find, the earliest Chupacabra story that I could find that had enough receipts and plausible details in it, Steve, that we could bring the facts to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you find anything earlier, pre-1995?
No, I was actually, and I was really surprised by that because I mean, I've heard of Chupacabra.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like forever. That's always a word you hear, and I mean, for only being 30. I mean, you look back at Bigfoot, you look back at everything. That goes back way back. This is like a baby compared to this is a baby cryptid compared to everything else.
It's a young cryptid story in there.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, I was too. In fact, the Puerto Rico incident is what several sources claim this, right? Even ChatGPT, when I bounce it off there for some fact checking, we try to triple source as much as we can in the fields that we do. They refer to this as the original Chupacabra incident. And I was like, okay, that's.
I saw that too, multiple spots. This 1995 Puerto Rico, Canóvanas.
Yeah,
was like the spot.
Yeah, and so my man over here can habla española over here, so he likes Latinas. The more toxic, the more better. And he's currently available. So if you're looking for a.
How do you think I lost his eye, Joe?
Exactly, a gringo. We try to say it was a fierce, cryptid attack, but we know it was over a taco, right? We know it was over something like carne asada or something like that. Steve got into. Little Mamacita reached across the table and snatched that eyeball out of there like Kill Bill, pulled it right out. So, anyways, if you're available and Latina and you're toxic and you want somebody to slap around, go see my man over here, right?
I'm your duende. That's right.
That's right. Go see my man, the duende hunter over here. So, Steve, when I butcher these Spanish names, I want you to help me out, man. So,
all right.
The where is Steve, where? Canóvanas?
Canóvanas, Puerto Rico.
Canóvanas, Puerto Rico. The when was August through December of 1995, right? So, now the story starts out like, basically, during August and December of 1995, there was confirmed over 150 farm animals, mostly goats. So the name Chupacabra means bloodsucker or goat sucker, Steve?
It's goat sucker.
Goat sucker, right? If this was not a PG-13 show, my favorite Spanish and insult has the word chupa in it, or my famous, but I won't say that on here, but DM me and I'll let you know. Chupa means to suck, and cabra means goat. So Chupacabra is the goat sucker. So over 150 farm animals were found dead. There were some chickens in there I saw as well, some rabbits.
I saw some pigs and stuff like that too, but mostly goat.
Yeah, but mostly goats were in there. And they were found, again, I thought this was, strange. The date line of this I found was strange, but also 150 is a lot. Over basically, what is that, Steve? A 4-month period?
A few months, yeah.
Something like that, right? 4 or 5 month period. I thought it was strange. And also, I thought it was strange, too, that every one of these animals were found drained of blood. And I thought that was okay. So that adds something to it, right? And they both had round puncture wounds reminiscent of, I guess, for lack of a better word, like vampire. Something held these animals down and literally sucked the blood out of them. And so there were also, I found conflicting reports when I was doing mine, Steve. There were no signs of a blood trail, no sign of
I heard that too.
Predators, and often no sign of struggle, right?
Yeah, I saw that too. It was just like basically, they were just completely drained, not a drop left, and that was it.
Yeah, they were just completely drained out. No blood on them. I mean, there were no blood right in them. And I will say too on this show, Enigmites, even though I did give you a little 60-second rant on why I think Chupacabras are not even close to being one of my favorite cryptids, even though a lot of people are into the Chupacabra phenomenon. At a minimum on this show, we have a baseline, a hard deck where we say something happened, right? We'll get into it as we go, what caused that, but something happened. Something was in 1995 draining the blood out of 150 of these animals. And this place, hit me again, Steve. What is it? Canóvanas?
Canóvanas. Yep.
Yeah, it's a rural area, right? So now they found a few of these. I didn't give me how many that seemed to be partially mutilated. However, that was not close to being the norm of how they were found. And that could be any type of predator shows up afterward as well to go in there to do it. Dogs mostly or something like that. So now during that time frame, these in Puerto Rico, they don't have counties, they have municipalities or whatever. Basically, it's just like a county. The next rural area over was Caguas, Steve, Naguabu. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce that.
No, I didn't catch this one, so I'm not sure.
Morovis.
I'm sure you're close.
Right? So yeah, so the surrounding 3 counties also were reporting these type of incidents, right? So now we also on this show, I like to find eyewitness reports, and I really like to find sheriff reports when available. However, I was not able to find a policia reporta from the federales down there, Steve. Were you able to find that?
No, nothing specific. Just not rumors. What's the word? But just like stories that were passed down. Right. Secondhand reports. Nothing actually official or.
That's what I got. That's what I got too. There wasn't. I found no Officer Hernandez showed up and did an investigation. I couldn't find. There wasn't. I couldn't trace that back anywhere. So anyways, but however, there were several eyewitnesses reported seeing these things, and I just keyed on to the first one that I could find. It was by a female named Madelyne Tolentino, right? And she is a resident of Canóvanas and claimed to have, she was doing the dishes. So right away, I got to say, good woman. I'm just saying, we got to give credit where credit's due, right? She was in the kitchen doing some dishes, right? Right now, people just throw the remotes at the thing there. So she was in the kitchen doing the dishes.
Oh my God.
It was late in the evening. She's around 11 o'clock. And she reported seeing a bipedal creature, 3 to 4 feet tall, glowing red eyes, scaly, greenish gray skin, right? She described it having spines or quills that ran down its back, thin limbs, clawed fingers, and she said it was leaping across her yard. And she said it also under observation that she said at times it appeared like it could glide. I'm like, okay. So this is her verbatim description is what she was getting to. And she says it was terrorizing her chickens. And she says that's how she could see it. She was too scared to go outside and make it stop. She was like basically was, eating her chickens. And her story was very credible because she actually ended up going on to a Puerto Rican radio station called Not Uno. Notiuno. How would you pronounce that, Steve?
Notiuno.
Uno. Yeah. Not even.
Yeah, Notiuno. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And a journalist named Jorge Martín interviewed her, and he was the one that actually went around and started compiling the eyewitnesses' reports. So the rest of the information that I got or that I compiled was from Jorge Martín, right? So, Steve, have you got anything to back that up or counter or add to that as well?
I don't have not a specific one, but I do want to, like you were just saying, that from what I was seeing, the general description of these things was yes, they had a grayish skin, glowing eyes, almost like fangs. And what was interesting when you said that she said it almost sounded like it was gliding. I saw that too, where people saying it almost it almost floated when it moved.
Yeah.
So that seems to be, which I've heard of the Chupacabra. I'd never heard of that. That was a specific detail that I was surprised by. I didn't know it had that kind of almost floating effect to it.
Yeah, me neither. I never heard of that before, right? And at the end, when we get to the end on my notes, I'm going to tell you what I thought until I actually read this. I can tell you at the end, I'm going to tell you what I thought the Chupacabra used to be, right? But I was like, I could have been like, that's what that was, right? So now, so another thing too. So Jorge Martin was a legitimate journalist. He compiled a lot more notes, and I'm going to get into some of his notes as well. And there was another check mark in here that made me think that this could possibly be something legitimate, right? Is because they took the time to discredit her. And I thought that was weird. Here's a girl, a country girl, living on a farm of some sort that had chickens and whatever. And after she gave her eyewitness account, they tried to smear her, saying that no, she made it up because she was describing something from the 1995 movie Species, like a sci-fi flick or something like that. And I thought that was weird that they would take the time to make an effort to say, no, she's lying. This is what she was really describing. It was a hoax. She never backed away from her story. Again, she had no reason to. She had no reason to lie. She had no reason really to come forward other than 149 other people were finding these dead animals as well, right? So that makes me think, Steve, we've actually did stories where people have just gone missing and never found again after coming forward, right? So,
yep, MIBs come for them, and
yeah. So I thought that was weird, right? I thought that was weird. Now, here's where I started to have to change my opinion on what the Chupacabra. I'm going to be very careful with my words here because I don't want to eat too much of my own words as we go along this thing. That there is, so Jorge Martín goes along and he compiles all of this information. And Jorge starts to develop a theory, for lack of a better word. I don't want to use the term conspiracy theory because he was an actual journalist and he was compiling things. And if you want to get into what Steve and I do, or the people that come on my channel and talk about all the time, pattern recognition is a key part of what we get into, right? We look for patterns, we look for, similarities, right? And Jorge started coming up with a similarity that these creatures seem to have some type of connection to the Roosevelt Roads Naval Station down there in Puerto Rico, Steve. And my roommate, when I was in Japan, right before I went to Diego Garcia, was actually stationed on Roosevelt Roads Naval Station. However, he was not there during these incidents when this went down, right, in 1995. He wasn't there. So now when we get into the fact now, and Jorge goes down the rabbit hole, for lack of a better word, Steve, where he tries to say that these things were man-made, some type of man-made, experiment for whatever. Yeah. I guess I don't know. I don't, Steve. I guess I don't have a word for that, Steve.
So. Yeah, no, I saw that too, where there was a leading theory that these were a military experiment gone wrong, kind of thing.
Something happened, something got wrong, or whatever. Now, so Enigmites, before you brush that off completely wrong, I'm going to give you some fun facts about the United States military. You don't know 99.9, I'll say 0.7% of the stuff that we do, right? And 95% of the time, we are not out doing some kind of super secret Jason Bourne saving stuff. There's a lot of downtime. But there is elements within the United States military that could be questionable. And I can tell you that off the coast of New Jersey, there is an island called Montauk Island or something like that. I don't know if you're familiar with
Montauk Island.
Montauk Island, where they 100% have conducted genetic experiments with mad cow disease, torturing animals and stuff like that. And there's actually a leading theory that me and this guy over here, first episode we ever did, actually, if you want to dig in the archives and looked at it. Steve, what was it?
Jersey Devil.
And a lot of people claim that the U.S. military creates creatures, cuts them loose in the Pine Barrens, which is a massive forest. Steve, how many acres is that, Steve?
If you look at a map of New Jersey, it's probably like 1/3 of all of New Jersey. It's the whole lower section of New Jersey.
It's insane. It's massive, right? I don't even know the tera hectares that are involved in it, right? It's insane. And a lot of people believe that. And there's been a creature called the Montauk Monster you can look up that washed up on the shore over there that looked like a pig, something hellhound or whatever. And so there's also experiments that I lived in Maryland for a good long while, and the U.S. Naval Research Facility is actually headquartered in. It's the NRL, the Naval Research Laboratory is in Washington, D.C. I just drove past it 3 weeks ago on my way to the casino that was over there. There's the MGM Grand over there, and I was like, man, I knew it was over there. But also, too, there's a very famous story about 30 monkeys that escaped that they thought had Ebola that ended up in Towson, Maryland, like an hour and 20 minutes north, that were out of that facility, right? So don't put it past that the Navy or the government whatsoever would conduct some type of experiment on Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an island, and again, I spit facts on this. Without the United States of America, Puerto Rico is it's as poor as Cuba. It's a third world country. It's period, right? Without the U.S. Navy involvement back then, without us giving them passports, if they ever took away the blue passport status of Puerto Rico, it would instantly turn into a third world country, right? So now, Steve, I got some other strangeness that I want to add into this situation. If you don't have anything else to add, right?
No, go for it.
So now the U.S. military installation is only 30 miles away from those 4 counties, right? And it's located in Caleb, or it was actually. The second thing I'm about to tell you is even stranger. It's 30 miles away, and it's in those municipalities: Cagas, Nagagu, Morevis, and the other one, Canóvanas or whatever. And shortly after these things, not saying this was the cause, they shut that facility down. There is I didn't know this, but it was still in operation in 1995. But as of today, the Roosevelt Roads Naval Station in Puerto Rico is no more, right? So I don't know what they've done with that. I don't know what but could have done with it. But we're no longer there. And I could not substantiate it with enough people, but supposedly there was a heightened bit of U.S. military activity during that 4-month period when these Chupacabra sightings were going around, which led to the theory that something was let out, something got out, something happened that they had to try to clean up, right? So, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That made me be like, okay, well.
Yep. I know that kind of stuff gets your attention. So
yeah, I can't. I was on Diego Garcia for a year, and I can't straight up. As much as I want to poo-poo this, I can't straight up like poo-poo it, right? I can't come in. It's like, okay, well, all right. So something was. Look, so this is what we got, Enigmites. This is what we got, right? Something's going around sucking the blood out of 150 animals in this 4 municipalities. There is a naval research base right there. There is heightened reporting of military activity. The U.S. Marines typically do guard naval bases, right? And this investigative journalist was connecting the dots, leading people back to that, right? And there was, for a strange reason, some type of restricted areas. They blocked off some certain areas that you couldn't go into for some reason, and other things that was going on as well. So,
and then they shut it all down.
Huh?
And then they shut it all down.
And then they shut it all down, man. I don't know if a hurricane went through there. I didn't know it was closed. I thought it was probably still there. I didn't know it was closed, but yeah, that's weird. That's just a lot of like oddities, right? Where I can't cut and dry and just say, no, this is, not something. Yeah. This was something. It definitely wasn't a play of imagination. It wasn't something that lacked physical evidence, right? You had dead bodies, right? They didn't have the Chupacabra body. Yeah, man. And so yeah, that's a strange one for me, Steve. And then so that's when I had to say, all right, man, maybe I'm sleeping on the Chupacabra here, man. Steve, where are you at so far with this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of got all that same kind of information. I did get, there was, I don't know, again, other than reading it online, there was one story that I did see. Don't know how legitimate it is, but there was apparently during that time, while this was all happening, there was a lot of night patrols going around trying to, guarding the farms and things like that, just trying to see something. And there were lots of reports of people seeing these little creatures running around. But there was one incident where a group of friends had gone out looking for one night. They actually went out into the woods looking for one, and one guy, his name was Luis Rivera. He had a video camera, apparently, and he was out and with this group of friends, and they kind of got a little bit. I don't know if they got separated, but they said all of a sudden they couldn't find Luis. The rest of them, they couldn't find him. Didn't know where he was.
Really?
Never saw him again. But they found his camera. They found his camera on the ground.
Oh my god! Oh my.
And they go back and they rewatch the footage. And on the footage, they're watching, and all of a sudden there's a bright flash. They hear this, and I actually heard this in a couple different stories. They heard this almost electrical buzzing sound, and then just a blur of something that rushed the camera, and that was the end of the video.
Wow.
So not sure, obviously, it's just one story, but the one I did hear in a couple of spots, the idea or the electrical buzzing noise was almost like people encountered it, they would hear that noise on a couple different stories. So,
man, I apologize, man. I tried to bring you on, but no dude got murked, man. There's a KIA in here, man. Okay, so El Chupacabra got one. All right.
Yep. But yeah, that was another consistently a pattern, hearing a buzzing noise when one was nearby. So,
man. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. Okay, that adds to the mystery. Enigmites, if you know that story, if you have any details to add to a good old Luis getting murked out there in the wilderness, put that in the comments below down there for us.
You always bring me on for the murder videos.
Man, I swear I thought this was going to be like I didn't know that one. But dang. All right. Yep. So okay.
Yeah.
So the investigative journalist, he actually put a title on his theory. It's not very original. Is like I thought he could do better. Project El Diablo. Steve, you want to translate that for us?
Project Devil.
Project Devil.
Project the Devil.
Come on, guys. You guys got to do better than that, man. Project Devil. And he said that, in his opinion, is that there was some type of, I'm going to read his words here, biogenetic experiment conducted jointly by the U.S. Navy and some type of shadow science contractors that were in Puerto Rico, right? That is not far-fetched at all. That is definitely not something that would be, out of the realm of possibility. And he says that some of his resources said that they were trying to create a hybrid surveillance creature, right? And that one of the prototypes they had escaped during one of the hurricanes or a storm or some type of power outage. He didn't really say what was what, and that's how it got out, right? But there was also, in conjunction with, he could not rule out the possibility. I will say this, though. He could not rule out the possibility that there was an extraterrestrial involvement here, too, that this was some type of aliens involvement. Central American and South American people are way more open to UFOs and aliens than North American people are. Yeah. So that was not something that was, and he said that was some kind of like alien life, interdimensional something, right? That it was causing it to float, he said, right? Now, that's pretty cool. I'll say that. The story was a little bit cooler as well. But here's one thing that lends a little bit more credibility to this for me, Steve-O, man. Is Mayor José Chemo Soto. All Central American, South American, and Filipino politicians always give themselves nicknames. I'm Joey the Bulldog, Faberhana, something like that, right? They all give themselves nicknames, right? I love it, man. So yeah, so he came out, man, and he became kind of a public figure talking about the Chupacabra saga. And he was actually, Steve, according to my notes, he was the one that he put armed men in the forest with rifles to try to capture one. Like he was the one that was putting these people on patrol, right?
Yep, I heard that too. That he was very much involved, and he was. Yeah. I mean, he himself was going out on these patrols, you know, trying to watch and find and see what they could learn.
Yeah. So and so you know he took it serious. You know, they took it serious, and the Puerto Rican Department of Agriculture came out against him though and said that was probably some type of feral dog attacks, which is laughable. I mean, it's laughable. It's not even a good theory. I don't know if you've ever seen a dog kill anything, Steve. Have you ever seen a dog kill anything?
Well, no, but I'm sure it doesn't just leave 2 little puncture marks and suck the blood out of it.
Yeah, so if a dog ever jumped on a chicken, it would, when they bite it, they shake their heads furiously, right? Yeah. They shake them, right? And, you know, where a lion or a feline that's a predator type is a much more, I mean, it's true. It's a much more merciful kill. Well, they'll suffocate you, you know. A bear will just start eating you, but a dog will tear you apart, right? Like literally will tear you apart, right? And so, yeah, and again, man, there would be feathers and blood and all over the place, and there would be more than, obviously, man, you would know what a canine attack would look like versus a, you know, I want to drink your blood, Chupacabra. Right? And so, yeah, man. So, yeah, so that was the Enigmites. That was the rundown for the original 1995 Chupacabra attack that went down, or the root of where all this started. But Steve, there's one more thing, man. That happened that I thought to myself, like, okay, I don't have an explanation for this. Is that after this incident, Mexico, Chile, the Dominican Republic, and the southern part of the United States of America, especially Texas, started having Chupacabra reports, man. Like they just started happening after 1995. And I thought to myself, like, again, I was like, no, that can't be right. Let me go and try to, and yeah, that's where we were able to track down the Duende sightings, you know, throughout history, right? Could not find any Chupacabra.
Yeah, they're all recent, which is I thought was very strange too.
Yeah.
It's like they just came out of the woodworks and they're like, oh, one's out, let's all come out, right?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I thought that was odd. I just thought that was strange, man. I thought that was strange, man. That I thought that, okay, that until the 1995 Puerto Rican, you know, the Puerto Ricans broke out.
There's no previous record or report or anything.
None.
Of Chupacabra.
None. And you can find the Duende reports, Bigfoot reports, Dogman reports, the Llorona, the Crying Woman reports. I mean, but you can't find a Chupacabra report pre-1995 in Central and South America. And I thought that was weird, brother.
It is very strange.
Yeah. Right?
And you know what else? And then you brought up the fact that they're sort of coming up in other places, and I was actually going to bring up the fact that there is Chupacabra in Mexico and Southwest America, but it's different. Did you read into this? The Chupacabra, it's different. Where the Chupacabra from Puerto Rico and other parts of South America, as we described, they're humanoids, right? They're small humanoids, gray skin. The Mexican and American Chupacabra is more like a dog. It's on all fours. It looks like a canine.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's interesting. But otherwise, it's gray skin, glowing eyes, the fangs. But yeah, it looks more like a dog. They say it looks like a coyote, larger than a coyote, and no fur, which I thought was very strange. But yeah, they've been reported in Texas, Southern California, Mexico.
Wow. Am I gonna have to get a Chupacabra shirt now, Steve? Am I gonna have to
think so.
Am I gonna have to put the Chupacabra back on the wall back there, man?
This show may have turned your opinion on them.
So yeah. So Steve, you got anything else to add before I tell you what I used to think the Chupacabra was and debunk myself?
I don't think so. I think that's about all I got.
So anyways, Enigmites, I gotta be normally, my man over here will testify. Mm-hmm. I'm all in on cryptids, man. Like, yeah, that's it. I usually got a little wisecrack. I can pull out biblical references, historical references. I can stand on business, right? So for the longest time, I actually thought that the Chupacabra was literally a vampire bat, right? I thought that the Chupacabra was just a vampire bat for the following reasons. Number one, it sucked blood. Number two, it always happened at night. Number three, I've seen pictures. Thank God I never came to face. I've seen giant bats in the Philippines. Pictures of giant bats in the Philippines. Like they're 4 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
And they say these things could glide. I'm like, okay, sure, that's it. A bat. And bats can walk around the ground. However, during my attempt to debunk the Chupacabra, I actually debunked the vampire bat theory, Steve. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
So, there are vampire bats in Puerto Rico, but they are not native, man. The vampire bats down there are the Desmodius rotundus, Rotundus. Okay. And they're not native to Puerto Rico. They've been occasionally sighted, and they are likely due to an accidental introduction or migration from nearby islands like Cuba or the Dominican Republic. Now, the official records that I pulled up from the Puerto Rican Department of Natural Environmental Resources, DRNA, right? They don't list them as established or breeding on the island. And I thought that was, that kind of like poked me a little bit, right? And also, so I dismissed it, right? I said, no, it's a vampire bat. I don't care if they're not native. They're there. It's a vampire bat, right? Yeah. So in 2019, a study which you can go find, the Puerto Rican Bat Conservation Program, right, indicated there was no permanent population of vampire bats have ever been documented on the island. And so what that means, Enigmites, is there's not enough of them for them to, take over a cave and breed and be in the hundreds or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that kind of threw a wrench in me a little bit, Steve. I'm like, all right. So I said, okay, maybe it's a misidentification, right? So, of course, me being in a desperate attempt to, prove that I'm right, to prove that I'm right, I went up and I looked up all 13 native species of bats that are on home, that are in Puerto Rico, right? And none of those 13 species of bats are hematophagus, right? Basically, they're blood drinkers. 13 species don't drink blood, right? They're insectivores, right? Or frugivores, they eat frogs, right? So, yeah, so now here's where I still try to go in there and prove that I'm right and fail miserably. Not only are chupacabras not the vampire bats don't even eat like a chupacabra. Vampire bats don't suck the blood out like a vampire. What they actually do is they bite them really hard and they lick the blood as it's coming out. And so the animal dies normally out of blood loss. And it just lays there and dies, where these were completely drained of their blood.
Yeah.
And so write this down, Enigmites. Yeah, I was wrong.
I'm going to have to take a screen capture of this one, a video recording of this one.
I was wrong.
Play it back whenever I can.
I was wrong. I cannot tell you what killed those 150 animals down there, but I can tell you the two things that did not kill those 150 animals. One, it wasn't wild dogs. And number two, it was 100% not vampire bats, which I thought for the longest time that that's what the Chupacabra was. Also, I just found out in this episode with Steve, I'm learning something here. Steve-O, you taught me something. That's 2 check marks for you today. You know what? I'm glad I renewed your contract. You taught me 2 things today. I didn't know that they had canine features over here in the US as well, and so that rules that out, is that they were gliding around as vampire bats as well. But man, Steve. That's
I can see you're enlightened. This is a fresh version of you. Look at you.
I got 4 pages of notes here, man. I mean, I did my due diligence on this, man. I was like, okay, yeah.
I never see you shocked, and this is you. This is the closest I think I'm going to get to it.
And it's the one I've been sleeping on the longest, and I got to tell you that for the longest time, vampire bats, you guys want it to be real. So, you want it to be real, right? And it's absolutely not vampire bats. It's absolutely not wild dogs. It's absolutely, there's no sightings reported before 1995. So I can't go to my Book of Enoch saying that they were created by the Anunnaki, let go, or something like that. Steve, I can't go to my normal comebacks, man. I found myself in an uncomfortable situation here, Steve.
I would say I've never seen you more confused in my life.
Yeah, man. Now I'm like, now I gotta ask myself some serious questions. I'm gonna reflect tonight. I gotta ask myself some serious questions here. Right? Like, is this what is this thing? Right? Like, what is it? Right? So the same thing when we did the Jersey Devil. The fact that the newspaper articles, they shut down schools, they brought in professional hunters, right, Steve? We don't know what they were hunting, but it was something, right?
There was something there, yeah.
Yeah, it was something, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, dang, man, like, all right, bro. So, yeah. Now I'm about to tell you the 4th thing that I'm a little ashamed of here, Steve.
Let's hear it.
But I'm going to own it, because that's what we do around here at Enigmites. I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it. I'm not just good looks and a witty face and a smart comeback, Steve. I actually go above and beyond to try to prove myself right, and I failed miserably again, because not only did I go and look up, that there were vampire bats, I also went and looked up 4 more Chupacabra sightings, man, to try to prove that it could be some type of vampire bat that was going on. I'm not going to really get into these, though, but I'm going to give you the timeline on them here and let you know, so if you want to go look at them, right? So Enigmites, take your notes out here. Pause this video or write these down. And I'm going to try to do them in order. And after 1995, there was actually in 1996 and 1998 in northern New Mexico, Chupacabra sightings started happening, Steve, like literally, like in January. Did you know about this? Yeah, in northern Mexico, and the same thing. Shadowy creatures, glowing eyes, unnatural speed, and they thought they were being attacked by demons. That's what they were said, right? It wasn't, because this was so fresh in 1995. The Chupacabra legend hadn't spread. Literally,
yeah, they didn't know what it was. Yeah,
1996 in Sonora, Sonora, Steve. Now, fast forward to the 2000s. 2 years later, in rural Nicaragua, Steve. Nicaragua, right? There was multiple reports of bipedal creatures. This was bipedal they were talking about. This is the only one. The other ones didn't list the feet, right? Bipedal creatures, late at night, gray, leathery skin, long claws. But they said these they said had a reptilian face on them. And truck drivers were claiming to see them, attacking the usual suspects, man. However, they did say these were the Chupacabras, right? So fast forward to 2004, Elmendorf, Texas, Steve, and look, yeah, it's funny. A strange hairless dog creature was shot and killed on a ranch, right? But I immediately dismissed it because it was a dog. I was trying to prove my vampire bat theory here, right? So I was trying to spit this off, right?
Yep.
Like, dog, whatever. Not what I was looking for. Large fangs, blue-gray skin tone, was killing livestock. Same thing, man. Chupacabra, right? But this one here had an MIB factor to it. I didn't go into it because I just dismissed it because I thought it was a dog.
Yeah.
MIB showed up and said no, and then after they did, they were saying no, it was a coyote with the mange, which it wasn't, right? And the last one, I stopped after this because I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna be able to prove my vampire bat theory. Was Kiro, Texas, man, a rancher named Phyllis Canyon found dozens of her chickens were drained of blood, and she recovered a large hairless creature on her property. She kept the carcass in her freezer and had it tested. And again, the results were never released, but she remained convinced that it was not any type of known species, right? And when they say tested, I don't know what they mean, like where she sent it off to get tested. This said tested, right? So, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Episode 81. It took me 81 EnigmaCast to say I was wrong about something, Steve. 81. Right?
And I was here for it. I feel great.
Right. Yeah, you're here for it, Steve. You witnessed it, right? So there's no denying on it. Now I can't unsee it, Steve. I can't unsee it. I've opened up a rabbit hole here, Steve, and I can't unsee what I've seen. So I think I owe the Chupacabra an apology, Steve. But before we get into it, Steve,
Yes, sir.
Do you have any nuggets you want to add on this, man? Anything I left out? Anything?
No, nothing.
All right.
Nothing you hadn't already covered.
So. All right, so here we go. Steve.
Yes.
2 questions.
Yes, let's hear them.
What do you think it is, and do you believe it? Is it the Chupacabra, Steve? Is it the goat sucker?
It's tough because, I think like we've been saying this whole time, right? The first one wasn't even heard of until 30 years ago. And then all of a sudden they start popping up everywhere, and not just in Puerto Rico. Now they're in South America, they're in Mexico, they're in the US. Where were these? Where was even a single report prior to 1995?
Yeah.
And not even a report of saying Chupacabra, just a report of, livestock being drained of blood. Not even
something, right?
Something, not something, once, right? And then all of a sudden, so again, 150 animals over the course of 4 months. I mean, something happened. Something very strange happened.
Something with that, man. It wasn't poachers either, man. Like something was taking this blood, right? It wasn't an animal sport killing. It wasn't a predator. Like something happened, right? Yeah,
and it wasn't that it was a tall tale made up. I mean, this was something that made international news. I was seeing. I mean, this was hitting. I mean, people, cryptozoologists from all over the world were coming to investigate this because this was not just a little story this was international news that this was happening. So it's not like it was just some little made up story right there.
Yeah, it had legit momentum behind it. Like it was working.
Yeah. So to me, I mean, I think whatever that incident happened. I don't know what it was, but I think that spawned stories elsewhere, and that's kind of what we're here. So do I believe in the Chupacabra? No. I believe that incident spawned a new legend, and people run with it like they always do, but that doesn't give me answers as to what happened in Canóvanas. So I'm I don't know. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to sit on this one.
Yeah. So I've struggled on this. I'm gonna give you my breakdown, man.
Mm-hmm.
In my denial of my defeat, right? I try to justify, okay, something happened, but it's not a cryptid, so it doesn't count. But then, so as I was driving home today, right when I was texting you, actually, I broke it down logically. And again, this will be my final defeat for the episode, ladies and gentlemen. So, here's where I'm at. 1995, a creature of some sort was sucking the blood out of 150 animals in this remote municipality in Puerto Rico. That happened. Before that, there was no reports of something like this happening anywhere in Central or South America, or North America for that fact as well. There was no reports of it. then literally the term cryptozoology is the study of unknown or previously unknown animals, right? So then I have to write it back that, okay, that some type of cryptid was, because it was an unknown, there's the letter of the law and there's the intent of the law, right? So by the letter of the law, the Chupacabra is a undiscovered or unknown animal. First sightings going on in 1995. That was drinking blood. So then the last thing that I was left with saying that, okay, if it's made in the lab, if it's lab grown, it's a dog. They took a monkey and a Rottweiler or whatever. Professor X'd it down there, taught it how to teleport, whatever was going on down there, whatever the crackling was going on, right? But then again, it's still, if it was man-made, cut loose, or doing whatever, you can't. Then it does fall under the cryptid category. So I gotta reluctantly admit it. The Chupacabra's real, dog. I gotta say it, man. Something happened, and that's how that was that I gotta follow the research, Steve. I gotta get into it. And so when you say that you don't believe in the Chupacabra, but you believe that something was going on, right? That something.
In that specific incident in Canóvanas, 90. Something definitely happened. I'm not going to deny that at all. What it was, I have no idea.
Yeah.
The other Chupacabras that started popping up after that, that's where I don't necessarily. I believe it more just being stories. But something definitely happened in Puerto Rico.
Something happened. Something went down
for sure. Something unnatural. I will say something not normal. You know, like it wasn't like you were saying. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't a bat. It was something strange.
Yeah. For sure.
There.
and again, when I follow my theory to the end of it, whatever it was, they got it. It stopped. It just quit. The killings stopped, right? Unless, unbeknownst to us, there's still some Chupacabra goat sucking going on down there in Puerto Rico. If it is, then let us know in the comments on that. Final question, Steve. Are you ready for it? We always do this.
Yes, sir.
Would you go there?
To Canóvanas? Yeah, sure. I'd go.
Yeah. Me too. I didn't know about Luis getting murked in the woods though, so like that might pause me that. But like up until that, I was convinced I'd go out there and I would stomp Chupacabras to death. But now I gotta be careful. But I would go there and look, and I would take a look at it. However, I would say that if there was any confirmed or any type of like, I've never been to Puerto Rico before. I'm not aware of if there's remote jungle areas, or I don't know how populated it is or anything like that. So I don't know if there's areas that this thing could go to, be undetected.
Yeah.
But man, like if you're drinking 150 animals in like 4 months, man, like that's that's more than 1 kill a night. That's for, or on pace with it, right? At least, right? Yeah. So yeah, about that 120 kills. So yeah. So anyways, bro. So yeah, I would go look at it, man. But I'm thinking that we would be all right, and we could bring one back, dead or alive, right? So
yeah. I think we got to book a trip.
Yeah, man. Like it doesn't terrify me like pugwudgies,
right?
Or duendes. Terrifying creatures, right? Yeah, especially pugwudgies, and they're mean, right? So yeah, pugwudgies aren't. They're not mean. I mean, they're not cute.
Leave my pugwudgies alone.
Yeah,
I love them.
Steve's a pugwudgie guy. Next time you go up there, man, like you got to get some pictures of the pugwudgie walk.
I will. I will go past that, and I'll go find it.
Yeah, you got to get some pictures
Freetown
on that, man, so we can throw it up there, man. We're doing that. All right, Steve, this ain't going to keep me up at night. I ain't worried about it. I'm not sweating it down, right? But still at the same time, man, like I got to go. I'm not too happy with my defeat, right? Yeah, my defeat at the hands of a Chupacabra, right? I got taken out by a bloodsucker or something like that. Anyway, so I don't even have the enthusiasm in me, Steve, because of this. I never thought the day would come where I would actually be taken down, proven wrong on my show with you, my boys here around me to witness it on our show.
This is a turning point in the show here, I feel.
On our own show, Steve, I got taken down by a daggone pugwudgie to proving that I was wrong. And I actually was the first time ever actively trying to debunk it and proved it even more. That's the sigh of defeat. So anyways, you know how we do around here, nerds. Give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. And for all you people who have been asking us really to break down the Chupacabra, there you have it. Sorry my energy is not as high as it normally would be, but yep. I was taken out, Steve, by Pugwudgie. Buddy, you got anything in closing here, homeboy?
No, that's it. That'll do it for me.
All right. So hit the subscribe button, leave us a thumbs up, and you know how we do, nerds. That's all you get for $1. We're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.